because there's so much interesting stuff to talk about here. What she said is true, is when the woman out-earns the man, there is a higher rate of divorce.
The long-term outcome studies certainly don't demonstrate that.
What do you think it means to be a man? Yeah, but why? Read any of the studies on this. And again, it sucks because there's so much interesting stuff to talk about here. What she said is true, is when the woman out-earns the man, there is a higher rate of divorce, but in those relationships, well, now that stat doesn't apply to you as much, right? It does matter. You've got to figure out where these numbers come from, guys. Come on, are you serious? Oh, she must have gotten kicked off. That is true. I need to hammer that next time.
Over the last year or so, I have seen a lot of comments talking about how swiping through YouTube Shorts will inevitably lead you to the Jordan Petersons, the Andrew Tates, and the other wild boys of the internet for dudes. So today we're going to look at some examples and check them out.
If someone breaks into my home, my job, right, I'm the protector, is my wife and my daughter know exactly who my wife gets my daughter. She's calling 911. I'm either standing at the top of the steps or I'm going down to go to work. And I'm going to go down and go to work because that's my house and I work hard for it.
Wait, is he saying he's going to go to work? Like he's going to walk down?
I hate that, like, I'm sorry, but, like, no offense, but, like, when it comes to, like, a test of, like, being a man or a good person, this shit about, like, defending yourself against, like, burglars and rapists and murderers of, like, your women that you own in your life is so fucking cringe. It's the equivalent of, like, gun owners that are, like, it's like pretending like there's a zombie apocalypse right on the corner. Like, bro, like, there's so many things in life that you've got to deal with that you have to, like, navigate through that are gonna be challenges for you. And it's not like the ultimate test of a man is not like if a criminal comes in, am I a good enough kickboxer to fight him off? It's such a cringe, like, fantastic ideation of the types of struggles you'll have to go through in life. It's so stupid. I don't know.
Ja.
It's super cringe.
Walk past the home invader, get in his car.
Jeg skal du ind i bilen først, ven.
Which is what I assume he does for work. That would be a funny plot twist, but I think he means go to work as in violently destroy the invader.
My son's there. When he's little, he would be with mom. As he gets older, he's 28 years old right now.
Ja.
Changes. I will have him at the top of the stairs, right at that choke point, with a gun, holding that line, so no one comes up if something were to happen to me as I go down and clear that house.
Calling your bedroom hallway a choke point. It is cool and normal to live your life like you're playing Call of Duty all the time. Step back, son, while I tactically insert myself into this burglar until he's gone forever.
I'm gonna go down and go to work because that's my house and I work hard for it.
I have nothing against, like, self-defense and home defense, you know, whatever you gotta do to keep your place safe. But there's absolutely this fetishized, violent, right-wing fantasy of finally being able to crack your knuckles and pull out your bazooka and blast your Amazon package delivery man.
Ja, jeg er pludselig færdig, men så kommer.
You rang your doorbell one too many times. It is very funny to me, and it is very silly.
As
Does this work?
progresses and gets older and I grow
If I have
older,
engines
right, I
stacked
become
like
the
this?
old warrior, 70 or 80 years old, then it's his job, his responsibility to
In the beating
step
box.
up and take my place.
I'm sorry, the old warrior. Ancient warrior, like a skin-tight Lacoste V-neck, matching skin-tight H&M stretch jeans. This literally could be like body paint. You know how people paint onto their skin to make it look like they're wearing.
Maybe these guys come from different environments where these things matter. Bruv, if you're doing fucking podcasting for a living, no. There's no way this works, right? Like these are gonna be overlapping. This will penalize me, won't it? Do you think? Oh, actually, I won't even be able to get fluids into my engine, so it doesn't matter.
Wearing clothes, but they're actually naked. This could be that. And this is not me checking his masculinity for wearing tight clothes. I just feel like in order to be a warrior, you need blood circulation to your extremities.
If you're a man born in a woman's body, that's biologically determined. But if you're a woman born in a woman's body, that's socially constructed. It's like, okay, good luck with that theory.
Good luck with that theory. Good luck with that theory, buddy boy. JP's got some snark. So what's going on here is he's presenting a false dichotomy, right, where gender being a social construct somehow contradicts the fact that gender dysphoria through the medical community has proven treatments, things that help people live fuller, healthier lives. There's really only a contradiction there if you make one up, and if you're not being honest.
I don't believe you can be a man born in a woman's body or a woman born in a man's body. What I believe is that there are some people who feel alienation towards their bodies and they want to remove
Well,
body
everybody
parts.
feels that.
Right, but they feel it to such an extent that clinically the best treatment for them is to transition and live as if they were the other
Yeah,
sex.
well, I don't think that there's any evidence that that's clinically the best treatment. We certainly don't know enough to make that presupposition, and I think we're playing with fire assuming that that's the case. the long-term outcome studies certainly don't demonstrate that.
Yeah, so he's just lying there, just straight up lying. If he's familiar with the literature, he's lying. If he's not familiar with the literature, he's just talking out of his butt cheeks. I'll link some stuff.
What do you think it means to be a man? So something, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this more when I'm done with Factorio, because I've got so many thoughts. Got so many thoughts in my head about things. Ever since this is how I used to analyze these questions. And after the post-Wittgenstein era, and when I say Wittgenstein era, I mean the 4 paragraphs I read and people that emailed me about it. I used to think, okay, well, what is a man? Well, what are things that make a man a man? It could be primary and secondary sexual characteristics, so things like dick, things like your body maturing through puberty, could be social roles, it could be et cetera, right? That would be like how I would investigate these things, typically. And then I would try to figure out like what is the most consistent answer that works from moment to moment through life, and that would be how I would do it, right? So if you would ask me maybe like a year ago, like what is a man, I would say that like it seems like depending on on context, like man either is talking about a specific set of biological characteristics that are exemplified by usually chromosomes, usually primary, secondary sexual characteristics, or in a social setting, man is usually something that presents as something and then has like a certain set of behaviors and a certain set of features. So behaviors might be having a deep voice, talking, deep voice, maybe like a style of talking, I would say. Men talk differently than women. A style of approaching social situations, a way of presenting yourself and your body, and an appearance, fashion, and everything, right? Something that I think of more now when I think of questions like that, like what is a man, I try to assume, now I did, actually, you saw me do this live in that conversation with the, actually, you saw me do both of these, I think, with the Ayala chick. When she asked me, if you fuck a prostitute and then you don't pay her, is it rape or is it just theft? Now when I think about things, what I try to instead analyze is I try to back up and I try to think, how do people use these words? And in the context that they use them, what is like the family of associations that they're drawing from? And I'll start, you ended saying, how do people use these words and in the context they use them? What are the, oh yeah, that's usually what I think of when I think of new words now. I try to start from an assumption that the word is probably insufficient to describe the concept, and so I just try to think around like what the word means. I've done that a lot recently. I've been thinking a lot about art and what art means and everything. And I think trying to nail down like, oh, definition of art is defined as XYZ is probably not a good way to do it. I think it's better to just ask a lot of questions to try to hone in on the concept, right? It's like if I saw a robot draw a piece of art, what I considered art. If something happened at random, what I considered art. If an ant did something that was pretty, would it be art? Like asking these types of questions, I think, is like a better way to try to approximate like what, to try to approximate what the words are getting at, yeah. But I think that starting from a place of assuming the language is insufficient, I think helps to get your mind in a better state to investigate certain terms. Sorry, that's usually what I think of, yeah. Okay, hold on, I got food. I'm gonna watch this.
Studies and description about this. But what's frustrating about clips like this, with this orchestral epic own situation going on, is a lot of people come away with just the objectively wrong conclusion about how this treatment works and what's actually going on, which leads into that sort of bigotry that says that being trans is a mental illness, that affirming identity is somehow harmful, which is just not the case. Like comments like this: yeah, right, the best treatment when they have the highest suicidal case after the treatment. Me, when I just lie. And 6.4 thousand people like it.
You really need to distinguish between artistry, artist, and artworks in these stupid convos. Art is a catch-all term, and the person talking about it is a language have the right idea. Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah, you can. And like some of those words might not even necessarily like a non-artist can probably make art, or maybe anybody that makes art is then considered retroactively an artist. Yeah, I don't know. It's a complicated category of things, but
today's sponsor, which is HelloFresh. One of my goals for this upcoming year was to eat better, healthier food and pay less for it, and HelloFresh is a great way to do just that. There are over 35.
I think when I started thinking about it, it feels like I could probably spend a lot more time writing things down. When I started thinking about it, I feel like, broadly speaking, I think art, it's a singular word, but I think that it can probably be broken down into two really big pieces. And one has to do with the creation of it, and the second has to do with the interpretation of it, or the consumption of it. And I don't know if both of these are required, or if either one can be both, or if either one on its own can be sufficient. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Just interesting things to think about. Pisco, you have like no desire to participate in the conversation. You're just like so fucking debate brain rattled in chat. Like, it's not meaningless words. Definitions are wrong. Blah blah blah. Like, I'm just talking, dude. Chill. I'm literally just like word vomiting some thoughts. Okay. I know you're like really like horny to like. You said it was meaningless. It is not. Some definitions are wrong. It's not meaningless. Like, duh, chill. It's okay. You're fine. Okay. You're okay. Why the creation though? It feels like the creation of a certain thing, like as art or not as art, it feels like it would go to changing our interpretation of whether or not something is art or not art. It feels like it. Like if somebody were to make something that was incredibly beautiful, but they weren't trying to be artistic, like is it art? Maybe. If somebody's trying to make something artistic, even if it's not beautiful, we'd probably still consider it art, I think. But all of it is like, it's all very fuzzy. And not fuzzy in the sense that it's like, here's like, this is like a normal term, and this is like a fuzzy term, where it's like fuzzy at just the edges. It's fuzzy like this type of fuzzy, where it's like very...
Tesla is being forced to remove a really useful feature from its cars. Teslas have a feature that closes the windows when you lock the car, lets you vent the windows from the app, or even close the windows from the app. But the NHTSA thinks that's just too dangerous. So newer Teslas like my Model 3 don't even have this feature in the car. And pretty soon they're sending an update out to disable it on existing cars too. This only affects Teslas in the United States, but it's still really dumb. It just doesn't make sense that Tesla is being forced to remove a really useful feature from its cars. Teslas have a feature that closes the windows when you lock the car, lets you vent the windows from the app, or even close the windows from the app. But the NHTSA thinks that's just too dangerous. So newer Teslas like my Model 3 don't even have this feature in the car. And pretty soon they're sending an update out to disable it on existing cars too. This only affects Teslas in the United States, but it's still really dumb. It just doesn't make sense that Tesla is being forced to remove a really useful feature from its cars. Teslas have a feature that closes the windows when you lock the car, lets you vent the windows from the app, or even close the windows from the app. But the NHTSA thinks that's just too dangerous. So newer Teslas like my Model 3 don't even have this feature in the car. And pretty soon they're sending an update out to disable it on existing cars too. This only affects Teslas in the United States, but it's still really dumb. It just doesn't make sense that Tesla is being forced to remove a really useful feature from its cars. Teslas have a feature that closes the windows when you lock the car, lets you vent the windows from the app, or even close the windows from the app. But the NHTSA thinks that's just too dangerous. So newer Teslas like my Model 3 don't even have this feature in the car. And pretty soon they're sending an update out.
I've been audited. I really do disagree, I'm sorry. But what the heck? Would you code to this? Really? I do believe somewhat in the process of natural selection. It is absolutely on no account a requirement. It's embarrassing. Welcome back, guys. I'm in a bit of a sticky situation. I've been audited. Not for my taxes, thank goodness, but on the EV installs that we do. And in my opinion, there is a conspiracy, and I love a conspiracy. So I'm going to take you through it today. I bet you didn't think that Artisan Electrics would turn into a wacko conspiracy theorist channel, but then I guess Artisan Electrics didn't think that they'd hire me. So without further ado, let's go into it. So I get an email from Jordan the other day. Jordan can be quite dramatic sometimes. You know, he's a perfectionist. He worries probably too much. And it's urgent, EVHS, WCS audit results, C1 and C2 action required, ID, yada, yada, yada. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good. And the fact it's been sent to me, that really doesn't sound good, because that's not any of my business. Basically, one of my installs has been audited, and there's code 1 and code 2 defects in it. That is terrifying to hear as an electrician. More than that, it's terrifying to hear as an electrician that really cares about his job. I'm very passionate about my job. I love what I do. I want to always try and improve on previous installs and do the best job I can. Obviously, I'll make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And no matter how good you are, there's always going to be a percentage of human error. And I guess over 1,000 installs, that 0.1% might come and bite you. But the chances of it, and the chances of it being a code 1 or a code 2, now that to me stinks of conspiracy. Just to clarify what an OZEV audit is. So every single install we do it through EV Comply. We'll do a OZEV certificate and a DNO certificate. And part of that, we get the customer to sign. If we're audited, they're happy to comply with that. They're happy to let the auditor in to check our work and things. And that is part of the deal as part of getting the grant from the government. That's what the audit actually is. And we do agree to that as EV installers. And just to clarify, OZEV, that's the Office for Zero Emissions Vehicles. It was OLEV, so sometimes I'll mix them up, OLEV, OZEV. It wasn't Office for Low Emissions Vehicles, now it's Office for Zero Emissions Vehicles. So, I said to Jordan, okay, please can I be the one to go and put my work right? I'm going to go make it correct. What I want to do is I want to let you guys see for yourself. What do you think? Do you think that these following install defects would be something that you would code if you're on an EICR? Or do you think that the stinky hands of corruption have massaged their way into the electrical industry? Cue the site visit.
No, they didn't.
Bunch of absolute donuts. That there's one outside, but for what? Again, for what safety benefit? I'm happy to fix it. I'll just write a label and fix it. But CB, no surge protection. So in our life-saving mission, feels really rewarding to be able to do things like this. Like, how many people can go to work? Firefighters and like ambulance drivers, they think they're saving lives. Well, guess what? They've never labelled a bonding cable. We'll just get the list out. So we come to number 2. They've put, there's multiple mains isolators installed. A notification warning is required to indicate this. They've referenced reg 537.2.2.6. I don't know about you, maybe they've got another edition of the regs book that I haven't got. Maybe they're working off the 19th or 20th edition, 17th Amendment. I can't find that reg. It doesn't exist anymore. And I can't see a sign saying it's been redacted either. I haven't got my yellow book on me, or my red book. Otherwise, I'd go back and check and see if maybe it was an old reg. But at the minute, that reg doesn't exist. So I don't know what reg they're quoting there. The other one, 514.11.1, they've quoted this reg. A notice of such durable material that's likely to remain legible, blah, 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 blah. Basically, there needs to be a label indicating what each switch does, and especially for the main isolator. It says, unless there is no possibility of confusion. Well, there's one here that says isolate supply before removing cover of the main switch, next to the big red switch there on the end, and everything else is labelled. Well, especially the only circuit I've touched is labelled. I love my label writer. It's my favourite tool, and I will forever use it for everything. I have no problem labelling up and over-labelling. And to be fair, with that one, I'll hand it to them. Maybe it would have been better to have labelled it just a bit clearer. I mean, to be fair, I do believe somewhat in the process of natural selection, and if you can't figure that one out yourself, I have no problem with that one. I'll hold up my hands and say, that's not a bad shout. That was sloppy of me. I will be sure to label even more in the future. That is crossed off. What's next? By the way, just to make you more aware, I have rung up the NIC and a couple of little brainiacs just beforehand, just to make sure that I'm not going crazy with a couple of these regs that I disagree on. Consume unit. So they say the consume unit is missing circuit scheduled information chart. Pretty terrible English there. So it says rectification works required, installation of warning notification labelling at all main switches. Okay, so that's just the same one again basically, isn't it? They're saying here, the reg number that they've quoted, the 414.1.1, I think I recognise that from the certificates. Okay, yeah, so I've just found that reg. It says, except where there is no possibility of confusion, A label or other suitable means of identification shall be provided to identify the purpose of each switchgear or item of control gear, where the operator cannot observe the operation of the switchgear and control gear, where this might lead to danger. I just disagree. I really do disagree, I'm sorry, but where the operator cannot observe the operation of the control gear, it should only be a qualified electrician with their hands inside of this. And even doing general work around the house. Fair enough, resetting an RCD, that absolutely needs to be there, but there's instructions written for that on the inside of the lid. In terms of being able to observe the operation clearly, what that main switch does, you can see the tails coming in, you see it going through, and you're going out along. If you can't observe that, you should probably get your hands out of the consumer unit and call someone up. Again, I will take that, I missed it, I'll take it on the chin. Okay, so there's no surge protection installed here. They've put down no surge protection installed. As you'll know if you're a customer, if we've ever done a board change, we don't even offer it, we just put it in as standard. Because you're doing a consumer unit change, there's no reason not to. Or even the mains tails upgrade, we'll just do it as standard. But we can't always put it into every EV charging job. The offer is given, but there's the price difference for buying it and a tiny bit of labour as well, because it is a bit of extra work cutting into the tails, putting in a main isolator, or making room for it in the board and installing that. In this situation, there's no space for it anyways, but it was offered. And you can't twist a customer's arm behind their back and make them have work done. Even if it would be better, there's a lot of things that I would often like to change. I'd rather change this for an RCBO board, personally, if I could. It's not necessarily in every customer's budget range to have all of that work done, and you can't force anyone to, because regs aren't retrospective. I can't come to your house now when First Amendment of 18th edition comes round and say, I'm really sorry, all of these RCBOs, they've got to go, because they have to be AFDDs now, artful detection devices. These are no good, got to come out, we'll be changing consumer units and wasting perfectly good electrical installations every couple of years as regs update. So regs are never retrospective. Certain things are, for sure, where there's a danger to life, danger to property, totally, fair enough. If you're going in as a wooden backed 3036 board and signs of burning and green goo coming out of the cable, okay, forget regs, common sense comes into it. This is not a safe installation. But when you come and you see a perfectly safe installation carried out to a very reasonably good standard, you know, it's not just being completely lashed in. You've got Type A RC protection, you've got Type AC on these ones. That's not dangerous, is it? And when it comes to surge protection, in a domestic property, it is absolutely on no account a requirement that you have to have. And what's funny is they've quoted a reg for it, which I've pulled up the number 534-1. I just wanted to make sure I was correct here, so I've rung up the NIC, and they've given me a different regulation, 443.4, and it says there over voltage control. So they said, well, does it meet the requirements where the consequences of caused by overvoltage could, 1, result in serious injury to or loss of human life? Turn my alarm off. No, I do not believe that there will be loss of human life by not installing it in this property. 2, result in interruption of public services and or damage to cultural heritage. No, don't think I could. As far as I'm aware, this house isn't UNESCO registered, so I'm gonna let that one say that it's a no.
What are you doing?
3, result in interruption of commercial or industrial activity. I think the guy worked from home during the pandemic.
Drop the hammer.
I think still that you can quite justify that reasoning. Or 4,
What is going on right
I'm not getting an answer on call back.
Bro, oh shit!
In the area that it's from Ania.
I got him, Edward 14, Edward 10, back up, code 3.
Code 3 back up at 26.
Give me your fucking hand!
Units code 3.
Give me your fucking hand!
40 Broadway for 14 hours.
Edward 14, Edward 10, medics, code 3 as well. You got it?
Sorry, 14 number 2, Dave, medic code 3.
Affirmative.
Fuck up, nigga. Wait, catch some bitch ass. Outside the house, you know, lame ass little boy. Oh, I love you. Yeah, I'm done. Shut that shit up. I ain't trying to hit you. I don't see no blood on Jalen. I don't see no blood, Mari. Who your hand? Nah, legit. Let me go. I got no safety. No. I don't see no blood. Who your hand, bitch? No. Don't me say you see him help you, right? Jay, you see him help us. Nah, stop doing that to her, Jay. I'm done. Say leave. Nah, Mari. Just be cool. She cool.
Kurwa, pojechał prosto. Tu, ten nas walnął. Ten nas walnął niebieski. Gdzie? A, ta, dobra. No tu wy, kurwa. Ty chuj. Już to nie uciekniesz. Czekaj, stój. You fucking idiot. You hit my car. I want your insurance, man. Stop! Dzwoń na policję! Dzwoń na policję! Szybko dzwoń, kurwa, na policję! Co spierdala? Ty, bo on cię przyjedzie! Przyjedzie cię! Kurwa! Siadaj! Chodź! Chodź, dzwoń na policję! Kurwa, nie mówię! Call police! Dzwoń na policję! I don't know. You, hey! You, my wife! Ty, bo on spierdala!
Oh, fuck! What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on?
Oh my god! Police, quickly, they wanna kill my wife. Yeah, call this side.
What name is street?
St. Audrey's Road, St. Audrey's Road. Oh shit, our car is gonna get fucked. Okay, thank God they didn't get our car. Thank God they didn't get our car. Shit! Shit!
And he'll drink it. Drink it.
I'm popping his leg.
Let's go.
I'm popping
Drink
his
it,
leg.
nigga.
Drink
Drink that. Man, no, drink that shit. Get your hand off the trigger, bro. Drink that shit like they want to get. Drink that. Some water. Put your face in that bitch. Your Dante, nigga.
Put your face. Get on your knees.
Y'all doing it.
Put your face in that bitch. Shut the fuck up. I'm not playing, bro.
Get on your knees.
Put your face in that bitch. Don't fat. I wish you would reach for a gun. Drink that shit, nigga. Drink it. I want to hear a lot. Nah, don't throw up.
Bitch. What I said.
Hey, stop doing it.
A boss and ball boy, you know I got plans for it, and it's in my passport. Disrespect the mo boy, you won't speak again, boy. Don't think that I'm playing, boy.
off them Percocets, OD off them Percocets, OD off them Percocets, OD off them Percocets. I put it on God, won't cross my niggas. That baby man gotta cross my fingers. They lost they man when I brought that stain. Doing niggas survive, got hit with that name. How the fuck you ain't tell you get a subpoena? Only the family, bitch, I'm a leader. Bitch, I killed you, give me a reason. Nigga, I killed you, give me a reason. I damn near OD'd off a Zen. feel like the police. Wanna phone you that fucking pipe.
affect a large number of co-located individuals. That is a very vague statement, but no, I wouldn't call a typical family with 2.5 kids a large number of co-located individuals. What we've got to remember is all the surge protection is doing is protecting against overcurrent entering your property, and for me, it's a good thing. I'll be honest, I haven't got it at home. I haven't changed my consumer unit in a long, long time. I need to at some point soon because I need more space, but I'm not losing any sleep without having that at my home, and I care very much about electrics and electrical safety. I really care about it, making it right, and doing things correctly. But no, I haven't got it at my house yet, and I don't lose a wink of sleep. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I am taking issue with is to go and to claim that it has to be done and that we should have done it when we did the installation, and that now we have to, in order to keep our OZEV license, come and install surge protection. I categorically disagree. This is my favourite one that's been pulled up. My favourite one in the sense of, what the heck? Okay, regulation 514.3.1. So they've said we need to install appropriate numbers. Sorry, it says installation of appropriate numbers to be installed by a competent person. My. Because clearly what was installed wasn't installed by a competent person. That you can identify conductors by numbering, colours or letters. In this instance, we've got it going to the correct corresponding terminal. We've got our earth going in there, identified by the green and yellow insulation as required by regs. We've got our neutral coming in here as required by our regs to the correct number, to the corresponding terminal that corresponds with the breaker. And we've got this brown wire here coming in. Again, perfectly clear what its function is. I don't need a number on that to tell me what it is or what it's doing. I don't think you need to be an electrician to know. The brown one is the dangerous end. Maybe